We've just come back from a holiday down in Tasmania, and between the 12th and the 23rd of March 2019, and we flew straight down to Hobart and stayed at Eagle Hawk Neck, and we did, we spent time around Hobart, and during that time we went on an amazing cruise, a Pentecost cruise down the coast of the Tasman Peninsula. And then we travelled, this is the route that we travelled across to Queenstown via Lake St Clair, and we did another cruise along in Macquarie Harbour and up the Gordon River, and we travelled up to Corinna, and in Corinna we did another cruise along the Pieman River, and from Corinna we travelled up to the north coast and along the north coast from Burnie down to Launceston and spent a day there, and then we travelled back to Hobart via Richmond and took the plane away. After travelling across to Queenstown, where we spent a night in the mine manager's house, which is a luxurious preserved old house. It is now a boarding house or a guest house, and we stayed there overnight. We drove down a very windy road to Strahan, and Strahan is on Macquarie Harbour, which is this very large harbour, and from Strahan we took a boat cruise from Macquarie Harbour out through the opening to the sea, which is called Hell's Gate, and it's not called Hell's Gate for nothing, as you'll see. Then we went and we stopped off on Sarah Island, where we did a tour, and from Sarah Island the boat took us up the Gordon River, along the steep-sided Gordon River, where we walked on the shore for a while, then came back, returned to Strahan, where we got off the cruise. So that was and in Macquarie Harbour we saw the fish farms as well. So this is the opening to Macquarie Harbour, and this is called Hell's Gate. Very narrow entrance to a huge body of water, bigger than Sydney Harbour. So you can see the shallowness of the water by the riffles on the surface here. And then of course a small lighthouse on a small island.
The currency of the land. They'll use these vehicles and...
The entrance to Macquarie Harbour, we're going through the only entrance to Macquarie Harbour. There's the lighthouse on the right and the headland on the left. This is the only entrance for a ship or a boat. So we're going out now, and now we're going out into the seaside. So you can see behind how narrow is the passage into Macquarie Harbour, and that's where it gets its name, Hell's Gate. Pretty scary. On a calm day it's fine. Imagine if the sea was very rough, getting through there. There's no chance of getting anywhere else because it's very shallow sand. Lighthouse on Macquarie, Lake Macquarie, with serious bit of history behind it. And then looking back to Hell's Gate in the distance. This is ocean trout farms in Macquarie Harbour. Not a great industry because they're much more difficult to rear than the salmon.
The cage we're looking at today though is 120 metres.
Trout fish farm. Sorry.
All those hills are mapped on.
Oh, okay.
It's just disgraceful
Trout
propaganda.
Propaganda, yeah, from the... I can't even see what's on my screen because the sun's in my eyes, but there's your trout. Here's a trout, not salmon. We're on Sarah Island, which is this very harsh convict colony. It's a blackwood tree. Beautiful blackwood tree. Sarah Island.
What happened? A 90% drop in the punishment
ruins of a couple of cottages.
On March 31st, 1829.
You can see the
Remember that
thumbprint
date? March 31st,
on the brick
1829.
of the man who actually made the
That
brick.
date,
They would
go
leave their
back 3
thumbprint
years
on the
to
brick.
1826, when 3 major events took place. First, the arrival described it as a comfortable place to sleep. Puzzle number 7. Why were the convicts given a comfortable place to sleep? Now, that's all 7 puzzles, and we're apparently running late. So, before we solve them rather quickly, I'll quickly summarise for you. Sarah Island is a penal settlement for 12 years, with the reputation of it being the absolute worst of its kind. But halfway through that settlement, they're building good quality ships under the guidance of a master shipwright, David Hoy. Escape attempts dropped to nearly 0. There's an elaborately built jail that's scarcely ever used, a thriving trade in contraband, a 90% drop in the punishment rate, and the men have a comfortable place to sleep. What happened? Well, we should probably thank George Lacey first. The speech he gave really fired the men up, really got the convicts going. So they launched a 3-pronged simultaneous attack against the administration, the military and the shipyard. First attack, the administration. Remember how I said the doctor and the commandant operate under 2 separate chains of command? Well, an orderly has caught Dr. Daniel obtaining bread by manipulating the ration system at the hospital. And he's taking that bread home to his wife, Mrs. Daniel. Now, Mrs. Daniel, you're feeding that bread to your...
Cats.
7 children. Is that what you call your chickens, Mrs. Daniel? She's feeding it to her chickens because she thinks they're scraps. These aren't scraps, they're embezzled rations. So the convicts take that information to Mr. Lompriere on March 30th, 1829. And on March 31st, 1829, Lompriere has to close the books for the quarter, otherwise Sarah Island will shut down. In order to close the books, Commandant Butler has to charge Dr. Daniel with embezzlement, finds him guilty, kicks him off the island. Strike 1. Attack number 2, Major Champ. Don't know where he is, but he's in trouble. Ah, there you are. Major Champ's in trouble again. But it's not him personally. It's that pesky Private James. Private James has been caught in flagrante delicto with the Reverend Schofield's goat. Yeah, you gotta be kidding. So that was witnessed by 4 convicts that just happened to be walking by at the time. So as you can imagine, military discipline disintegrates. Major Champ, you got your hands full with that, don't you, mate? Absolutely you do. Third and final attack, the shipyards. David Hoy is trialling an experimental sloop, and it sinks with the loss of 3 convict lives.
Gordon River, we are going up the Gordon River from Lake Macquarie, and it narrows into quite a deep gorge, where of course they thought of doing hydroelectric power, and all the protests was stop the dam on this river. And a lot of the vegetation, there's Nothophagus, they call it myrtle here, a very ancient plant going back to Gondwana land. You don't see a lot of eucalypts here. Occasionally you'll see an emergent eucalypt with a lighter green, but mostly it's Nothophagus. It's the largest stand of Nothophagus anywhere, I think. That's looking upriver of the Gordon. I mean, it's so... The reflections are great as well. You get the very calm river. You can see we've come around that bend there, so it's quite a fairly narrow gorge. Okay, so this is Nothophagus here, Nothophagus Cunninghami. It's Gondwanan, left over from Gondwana land. It's the biggest stand of Nothophagus, I think, anywhere, maybe Southern Hemisphere. The Gordon River, and we're going on a boardwalk with the signposted boardwalk, but just give you an idea of the sort of microphytic crust of mosses and things on the ground. If you look in there, for example, right down on the surface, they're tiny mosses and ferns and things. Boardwalk they've made all along the bank through the vegetation. It's really lovely, and if you look sideways, we're on camera, you look sideways, you look straight into the dense undergrowth. It's an amazing walk actually, very pleasant. The boat is turning around, and we've just been for a walk in the forest up the riverbank, and now we're turning around and we're going back down to Lake Macquarie. And I just thought you might like to see the rolling vegetation, and we've just been there, up that boardwalk there. It's a very nice boardwalk, right through the very dense riparian forest. I thought I'd give you a shot of the wake of this boat to give you an idea of what the colour of the water. It's a sort of a dark tea colour because of all the plant pigments that are washed in from the catchment. We're heading back to Lake Macquarie, and the vegetation is sort of flattening out a bit. It's not as tall along the banks. A bit of a bonus here, as you step off the ferry, you get a wood saw. It looks like an antique wood saw sawing through a log. And this is like, clearly you can buy wood and wooden things around here. Sort of an unusual dock for our catamaran. That's the vessel we've been on, and then over on the right, it's a very antique looking woody place.